Glad to have you here. It's 888-941-PAGS, joepags.com. It's always a pleasure to have the junior senator for the great state of Texas, Ted Cruz, sitting here with me. Ted, how are you?
I'm doing great, Joe. Great to be with you.
Good to see you, brother. I'm going to get that microphone closer to you if you don't mind. Let's talk right into that. I want to make sure that people hear you. You're the reason they're listening and watching right now, not me, and we all know that. And you said that, actually, before we started.
I am thrilled to be joining the world of PAGS once again, but it's actually quite odd to do it in person. I'm used to talking on the phone and normally driving down some road in East Texas or West Texas with cell phone signal coming in and out. So it's not nicer to just move the mic to get a better signal.
It's absolutely a pleasure to have you here. We were talking about this earlier, and I want to get into your buddy Robert Francis in a second, who I'm wondering if he had a Tecate Light yesterday or if he had a green beer. I'm not sure what he did. But I told everybody in the studio that I was going to start here. They didn't believe me. So talk to me about this beard.
I'm having fun with it.
Is Heidi down with the beard? Is she okay?
So she's kind of on the fence. She actually started out a beard skeptic, and I'd say she's okay with it.
Right. I can grow one, Ted, but it's gray. The whole thing's gray. You still have color in your beard.
Look, for me, I'd never grown a beard before, and it just sort of started for the hell of it. That I was on Thanksgiving vacation with the family, and I never shave on vacation, and so. But normally, Monday morning you go back to work, you pull out the razor and shave.
That's right. That's right.
And I just figured, what the heck, have some fun.
Yeah.
And then Twitter went nuts.
They liked it.
It started out they hated it. Now it was 1 week's growth, and so everyone was like, oh, this is pitiful. He can't grow a beard. I'm like, guys, this is like 6 days. Give it, and so then it was a little bit of throwing the gauntlet down, and if nothing else, it has driven lefties out of their minds.
Good, and that's what we want, because you sort of look like somebody. They own the beard now. You're not going to go hair bun next, are you?
No. But I did tell Dianne Feinstein. She was like, "What's up with the beard?" I said, "Dianne, next thing you know, I'm going to get a ponytail and Birkenstocks, and I'm going after your base. You just need to know right now." That's
great. It's Ted Cruz is the second place. He was almost the nominee to be the president of the United States. I think he rather easily he would have been the president of the United States. Glad to have him in studio today. We were talking about Robert Francis, the Irishman O'Rourke. And I was talking about this a little while ago. Carrie read the story moments ago that Reuters actually sat on a story about him writing these disgusting, distressing things when he was 16, 15 years old, whatever, as part of some odd group that was hacking and doing dastardly stuff. And I mentioned in the debates, he stood next to you and called you a liar to your face. He pointed at you. He's a liar. That's a lie. The veins sticking out of his neck and whatever else. Right? And you took the high road. When you were egged on about the whole Beto thing, it's clearly cultural appropriation. He's not Mexican. A lot of people listening right now and watching think his mom is from Mexico. Sure. That's not true. He's a fourth-generation Irishman. I've got Irish in my blood. I've got no problem with Irishmen. Just be who you are. Every sign said BETO. Nothing said O'Rourke. Nothing said Robert Francis. He clearly was playing a role. He was being called the Hispanic Bobby Kennedy, and you stayed away from that. You took the high road. When he called you a liar, you didn't go after him and talk about the DWI arrest or the burglary arrest. You were actually asked about that, and you said, he's already answered that. That's not really what's important now. What's important are the issues. How dastardly is it that the media sits on something that would have hurt him so badly just so he would have a better chance against you?
Well, look, the media right now, they pull their hair out and they say how upset they are at being called fake news.
Yeah.
But over and over again, they behave like Democratic operatives, where their objective is to help Democrats win and not to report on the news.
Right.
Listen, you're right. In the Senate race, I very consciously didn't go into character battles, didn't attack him personally, kept it on issues and substance. There was a lot that I could have talked about and that, frankly, some folks on my campaign wanted to, and I told them, no, we're going to keep it on his record and my record. That's what we did.
Right.
But what was stunning about this Reuters story this week, in terms of the media's, how they do their job, is Reuters uncritically observed that they heard that they had evidence that he was in this illegal hacking collective, and they interviewed him in 2017.
Right.
So early in the Senate campaign, one of the things the first Reuters story lays out that he apparently had stolen long distance and that it may well have been a felony or multiple felonies. And then the Reuters reporter said, well, but Beto, who they interviewed, and he confirmed all of this in 2017. He said, Beto didn't want us to report this till after the Senate race, so we agreed not to report it.
Right. Well, of course he didn't want you to report it because, when the truth gets out and you would have won by an even bigger landslide. And he got 4 million votes in our state, Ted.
Can you imagine them ever doing that for a Republican?
Never.
Never. And not only that, you know why all of this is coming out now? Because now Beto is running against Bernie and all the leftists.
Right.
And so suddenly it's news. And by the way, we're not going to see the other Democrats exercise the same restraint that my campaign did. I guarantee you everything from his past is going to get dragged out by other Democrats.
Right.
And it's going to be an absolute mudfest. But Reuters still has not addressed. They've got a candidate running for Senate, later a Democratic nominee running for Senate, with evidence including apparently his own admission in an interview that he may have committed multiple felonies. And for over a year, they sit out because presumably they're Democratic partisans, and defeating the Republican incumbent, and frankly defeating me, for them is a higher priority than actually being journalists and reporting on news. It's
Senator Ted Cruz, the great state of Texas. He's a Republican from right here, and we always appreciate the time and the friendship. When it comes to O'Rourke, why do you think Obama and Oprah are supporting him? Why did he raise $6 million in one day? Ted, there's no substance there. This is the guy that said today's police are the modern-day Jim Crow. This is the guy that said he's open to disbanding ICE. This is the guy that said he would tear down the wall and the fence in El Paso if he had the opportunity. This is the guy that just the other day said, if you've got an AR-15, and he's doing this with his hands, if you've got one, keep it. But
by the way, that reminds me of Enter the Dragon and the old kung fu movie. Somebody needs to set a Beto speech, but like badly lip sync it, where his mouth is not synced up with the words,
because the arms don't work right. Is he directing traffic? What is he doing?
How awesome was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as like a bad guy doing kung fu? It's one of the great moments of cinema history.
Yeah, go see that. If you didn't see Bruce Lee take down Kareem, you've got to go see that. But he said something about if you have an AR-15, keep it. If you don't have one, you don't need one. Nobody needs an AR-15 for hunting and for home security. And here's a guy that A, has said, I'm not at all for American values. B, is now saying, I don't like the police nor law enforcement on the border. I don't like a border wall or a fence or a barrier, and forget sovereignty. Now he's saying, I don't understand the Second Amendment. How does he raise $6 million in a day?
Well, look, I have been saying for months, number one, Beto was going to run for president. I said that.
But he promised he wouldn't.
But nobody believed him. Everyone knew that wasn't true at the time. I've been saying, number one, he was going to run for president, and number two, I've said from the beginning, I think he's going to be at the very top tier of Democrats for three simple reasons. That he, A, will raise vast sums of money, and we discovered that when he raised over $6 million in his first 24 hours. That is dangerous, and it's powerful in politics. Number two, and this is what you just laid out, on policy and substance, he is hard left. He was the only Democratic Senate nominee in the country to explicitly come out for impeaching Donald Trump in 2018. He said he would vote yes to impeach Donald Trump right now. And
the rest of the Democrats, by the way, were afraid to do
Elizabeth Warren didn't say that. Bernie Sanders
we're not
didn't
talking
say
about impeachment.
that. Kamala Harris didn't say that. None of the other leftists said that. He did. He was happy, as you noted. He was happy to go after police and slander police. He was happy to whatever the position was to the far left, he would embrace it. But number three, and this is what is most dangerous, his rhetoric sounds very moderate and very reasonable. And it is reminiscent of Barack Obama in 2008. You were asking why so much of the Obama team loves him. Because remember, 2008, Obama didn't run as a hard leftist. He ran as hope and change.
That's true.
Everyone's for hope and change. And that's what makes Beto, I think, so dangerous on the national scene, is the hard leftists. Most of them know he's one of them. But he doesn't sound like it. And to a voter who's not necessarily listening too carefully, just like hope and change, he sounds deceptively reasonable.
What's interesting is he isn't as smart as Obama was, in that Obama only said hope and change, only said yes we can, only said si se puede if he was in front of a certain audience. He also said happy Cinco de Cuatro, which was good. I don't know what that was.
Missed that one.
That's what Obama said at Cinco de Mayo celebration. But he was smart enough to keep it there, whereas O'Rourke...
he said that in one of the 57 states.
Well, he did. He absolutely did. But O'Rourke is actually saying what he believes on policy. We've got to hit a break here. When we come back, it'll be Senator Ted Cruz. We'll continue. You have got time for another segment? Let's do another segment about the border, about the fence, about the executive order, about all that stuff. Keep it here on the Joe Pack Show. We're coming right back. All right, there are all host of Newsmax TV. It's the Joe Pag Show. Glad to have you here, and really glad to have continuing with us today the senator from the great state of Texas. It's the Republican Ted Cruz. He, of course, second place, almost the nominee for president of the United States, and just beat Beto. I say it like this. I say Robert Francis Beto O'Rourke. I just have, for some reason, I have to affect that. I don't want to spend the whole time with him. Obviously, we've got to get to the border, get to the economy, get to politics, get to other things. But his opening video announcing that he was running for president was so weird to me. And look, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a liberal. I don't get it. I don't get why they think this angle is going to work.
So you're not his target audience.
I am not. I'm generally speaking, Ted, not his target audience. But when he says, and he looks at the camera, I'm not going to make fun of his arms anymore because I just can't do it effectively. I'm Italian. I actually use my hands right. But when he said there are challenges and crises that are interconnected between the economy and the climate, I almost fell off the chair. I was like, what? Why does he think that's going to work when all of our paychecks are bigger, when our taxes are all lower, when we've got cleaner water and cleaner air than we've ever had, and we're doing our best? Like Republicans want dirty water and air. Why does that work? Why do you think he thinks that resonates?
Well, look, you want a proof on how well the economy is doing? Liberals have $6 million to give him one day.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, look, they don't care about facts.
Yeah.
We've got the lowest unemployment in 50 years, the lowest black unemployment ever recorded, the lowest Hispanic unemployment ever recorded. Young people, we've got the lowest youth unemployment in over 70 years. So they can't argue about facts.
Right.
Instead, they got to argue about emotion. They're angry. And the effect Donald Trump has had on the Democratic Party is it has driven them crazy left, like off the cliff left.
Right.
This Green New Deal thing that every Democrat presidential candidate is falling all over themselves to embrace. It's nuts.
It is.
It's not a little bit nuts. It's $93 trillion. Now, no one really has a grasp of what that means. That's about 5 times the size of the U.S. economy that it would cost. But what they're talking about doing is putting every oil and gas worker in the United States out of work. If you look at the write-up that AOC put out, she talked about, okay, among other things, in 10 years, we may not be able to get rid of all airplanes. By the way, one of the funniest things, among others, the Hawaii senators support this plan. It's like, has anyone showed them a map?
They're going to take a boat? What are they going to do, a rowboat?
I think the train. You're going to take the train to Hawaii. And you know, don't bother Democrats with facts. But my favorite is the same talking points that they put out. Said we may not be able to, quote, get rid of all the farting cows. And I got to say, I came out in response to that immediately, and I said, listen, this is an opportunity for Republicans. This is an opportunity for conservatives. We need to get PETA. We need to get PETA's endorsement and say, we're not going to kill the cows, and they're promising to.
It's awesome. That's actually awesome. But that was a fake draft. There was a joke. They didn't really mean it. Ted, they meant every word of that, and you know they did.
Lied about that. Yeah. So it was a draft that AOC put out on the frequently asked questions, and it was real. So laughable that they withdrew it, and the media repeated the lies. Oh no, this wasn't real. This wasn't real. And let me say an important point on this. Listen, laughter, ridicule is important. When someone proposes something ludicrous, it ought to be ridiculed. Yeah. But at the same level, we need to take this deadly seriously. Pags, if I'd gone on your radio station 5 years ago and said in 5 years, you're going to have biological men winning women's track meets,
I would have called you crazy.
You would have said, oh, come on, that is nuts. Nobody is going to let a biological male run in a women's track meet. We're seeing that happening now.
Right.
Things can change. Our country, the cultural forces and assaults are so profound that what we ridicule as this Green New Deal could suddenly find millions of Americans out of work, because these zealots aren't concerned about substance. They're concerned about looking virtuous to the media, apparently they want to put, windmills on the fronts of all our cars. They have no answer to how actually the economy operates. Yeah. And what you said is also exactly right. All of us want clean air, clean water. We all breathe. We all drink water. We want our kids, our grandkids to. But we don't want the crazy zealotry of the left to take away jobs that are providing for American families.
Yeah, but Ted, they're going after the children. You saw what the children did to Feinstein in that video.
Yes.
You just had this climate strike where all the kids around the world, as if they organized that themselves. Obviously, they're being pushed by adults to do this. But they truly believe there's a generation of children that they're affecting that truly believe we've got 12 years. Then we're all dead. Then the world ends, and you must do something now. Yelling at 80-year-old, Dianne Feinstein. It's very strange.
It is strange, and it's the left has commandeered, has seized the organs of transmissions of ideas.
Yeah, true.
And so you think about everyone, K through 12 education, the left has taken over. University education, the left has taken over. Journalism is
completely. Yeah.
And media and entertainment. You look at Hollywood and sports. And by the way, if we could get just one back, I'd like to have entertainment. It may be the most pernicious. The right, if you think about it, conservatives, what do the best and brightest do? They go make money.
Right.
And we don't fight on the terrain of ideas. Listen, they're telling young people socialism is a terrific idea. Half of young people are believing it. Socialism has been an absolute disaster just about everywhere on earth it's been implemented.
Yeah.
But we've got to fight on that terrain of ideas. There's nothing I'm more focused on the next 2 years than winning hearts and minds. With the economic results, with the national security results we're seeing, we ought to be winning elections 60-40.
Yeah, we actually have a real-life version of socialism crashing and burning not very far from us in Venezuela, and they're still touting the praises of how great socialism is. Ted, it's the weirdest is Ted Cruz, obviously Republican, the great state of Texas. We appreciate the time. I've got to go to the border. More fentanyl was captured in recent days. That could have killed millions of Americans. We've got a true crisis on the border. 76,000 illegal immigrants just last month. I mean, you could fill a stadium with that. You've got a real crisis in that children are now being used as lures.
Yes.
Here are these two sick kids. Help them. The Border Patrol takes them away. You see 10 illegals come across as soon as they got rid of the Border Patrol. It's a real problem now, both for those trying to get here, very unhealthy, very unsafe, and for us because we don't know who's coming.
Sure.
How on God's green earth is it that the left is trying to convince anybody that there's no crisis going on when they themselves, for decades, said there was?
Look, of course we have a crisis at the border. Going back to 2013, where Barack Obama said we have a humanitarian crisis at the border.
Right.
If you look at unchecked illegal immigration, we've got human traffickers and narco traffickers that are crossing the border. We've got narcotics flooding into this country. Last year, we had 70,000 drug overdoses. That's more than people died in car accidents. And the human traffickers, we're seeing children in the care and custody of human traffickers. You know, no one who cares about compassion, no one who cares about humanity should want even a single little boy or little girl in the custody of human traffickers. Far too many of those kids are facing sexual abuse, physical abuse. It is horrific what these cartels do to those kids. And of course we have a crisis, but the Democratic Party, they used to claim they were for border security. Just a few years ago, they used to claim they were for border security. Now what has happened is the election of Trump has driven them out of their minds. And here's the simple Democratic logic of office holders. Trump equals wall. Trump bad, therefore wall bad.
Wow.
That's it. It's not. It is a visceral, emotional scream.
Is it only about them trying to stop him fulfill a campaign promise? Or have they really flipped their understanding of what's going on at the border? That border is horrible. We just said there are 8 bodies wrapped in hefty bags or something yesterday found in the river.
So
I mean, it's not getting any better.
In 2013, every single Senate Democrat, including Chuck Schumer, voted in favor of building 350 miles of new border wall.
Right.
2013 was not that many years ago.
Right.
We just saw 2 months ago those same Senate Democrats force a government shutdown to stop 234 miles of wall. Less wall, 234, last I checked, is less than 350.
It is, yeah. Quick math, yes.
You know, look, I'm a lawyer. We don't do math. But I don't even know how to frame the argument.
Right.
You're for 350, but you'll shut the government down to stop 234.
Yeah.
Other than it's just their base is angry at Trump. And so, I mean, look, you watched the State of the Union. You saw the how extreme. Let's take another issue. When the president said we will stop the horrific practice of partial birth, of late-term abortions, half of the Democrats sat there with their arms crossed, staring angrily. It wasn't that many years ago, Bill Clinton stood up there and said he wanted abortions safe, legal, and rare.
Yeah.
Now, you can question whether he meant it at the time, but that used to be the stated position of the Democratic Party. They're now the party of late-term abortions and infanticide. That is, it's frankly not good and healthy for our country when one of the two major parties goes off the cliff with extreme positions and extreme rhetoric. And that's where the Democratic Party is right now.
In fact, you've got a governor in Virginia who still has his job, even after either wearing a robe or wearing blackface. And I think he still has his job because he is in support of, well, you know, if there are some deformities when it's born, might as well kill it.
And I will say...
The left loves him because of that.
When I sent a tweet about Ralph Northam, and Northam calling for not just late-term abortions, but abortions after birth.
Right.
So the Houston Chronicle editorial page blasted me and said, Cruz is trying to deceive you by claiming he said something he didn't say. And
he said it. It's on tape. We saw it.
And I responded on Twitter. I said, wait, look at my tweet. I tweeted a link to his video, and I said, watch the video. And I quoted him verbatim where he said he would deliver the infant. He called the child an infant. He said he would make the infant comfortable. This is after delivery.
Right.
And then talk with the parents about what to do with the infant. What do you mean, what to do with the infant? I mean, this is, regardless of where someone stands on the right to life, I'm pro-life, but Americans differ on that question. But there should be no difference on what to do with a child after birth. And it is because the Democratic Party... Nothing is too extreme.
Well, it's no longer this word abortion. Then it becomes murder. That's a living person who has constitutional rights, last time I checked. You're the preeminent constitutionalist that I've ever met, ever talked to, and I just want to ask you very quickly. I know we've only got a minute left. When it comes to the president, the executive being given the authority in the 1970s to declare emergencies when needed, Congress approved it. It's on the books. It's ready to go. Every president has used it. Barack Obama used it several times, sending taxpayer dollars overseas away from us, not to help our border, not to help Americans, but to go help other people. Why is it that now suddenly there's a constitutional question? In your mind, is there a constitutional question over whether the president or the executive should have that authority?
So I think there is a good faith constitutional question. I voted yes. I voted with the president. And the reason I voted yes is I believe there is a national emergency at the border and we need to step up and build a wall and protect this country. And I have fought for that every day I've been in the Senate. That being said, I urge the president to go down a different path, which is we could have spent all the money we need. He could have spent it unilaterally to build the wall using clear statutory authority that is explicit, that is ironclad, that nobody disputes. For example, there's a provisional law, and I'm sorry, I'm going to get a little wonky here.
No, go ahead.
It is 10 United States Code Section 284 that explicitly authorizes the Department of Defense to reprogram money up to $4 billion to stop high-traffic narcotics smuggling corridors, and it explicitly authorizes building fences.
Done.
It is about as clear and explicit legal authority as you can use. Now, the administration announced they would use $2.5 billion of that $4 billion. I urge the president, spend it all out of there and a couple of other funds, and don't pick this fight, and you would have united all the Republicans, and we would build more wall faster.
Right.
Unfortunately, they didn't take that advice, and one of the consequences of that is I do worry that this precedent will be used and abused by the next Democratic president, that we are going to see a president, God forbid, Elizabeth Warren or Beto O'Rourke or whoever the leftist is, declaring a national emergency on global warming or on gun control or on health care, and attempting to use this precedent to spend billions of dollars to push their socialist agenda. That worries me greatly. So I wish the administration had done this in what I think would have been a smarter way, which is follow clear statutory authority and not set the stage for subsequent abuse of power.
Well, they could have done it through reconciliation, and you suggested that. The fact that they didn't was stunning. Or El Chapo's money. I mean, why not actually do that? Both suggested by you, and both were righteous, and you don't have this constitutional question.
That's exactly right. Well, for a year, I was urging my colleagues, let's take up reconciliation. When we had a majority in both houses, we could have built the entire wall. I urged the president, I urged the vice president, I urged my colleagues. They didn't do it. And the El Chapo Act, which is legislation I introduced, said let's take El Chapo's money and the other money criminally forfeited from drug lords. Let's use that to build the wall. And so I voted with the president on this, but I wish we'd pursued it in a way that didn't set a precedent that I think will be abused in the future.
Ted, it's always an absolute pleasure to sit here face to face. We've done this often.
Absolutely.
But we haven't done it in a while. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Now, let me make one final point,
Sure.
Bags, which is we're in basketball season.
We are.
And we're approaching the playoffs. And as you know, my rule, I'll root for any Texas team against any non-Texas team.
Right.
But I'm also Houstonian, so I will root for Houston. I say that because right now, the Rockets are 3 and the Spurs are 6.
That's
so if they stay there, they'll be in the first round of the playoffs. So you and I ought to have a wager or something.
Let's do it.
Now, if the Spurs go all the way, I'll root for the Spurs after the Rockets, but I'm a Rockets guy first.
I'll root for the Rockets if the Spurs don't get out of the first round. But I love that. Let's do that. We'll have to figure it out. We'll have to figure out what it should be. Maybe some pasta from me, maybe whatever it is from you. We'll figure it out, though. Ted, I appreciate you stopping by. It's Senator Ted Cruz. You guys can call me and email me right now what the bet should be. 888-941-PAGS, joepags.com. We're coming back right after this.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for breaking news and give us a thumbs up. If you like this video, then share it with your friends. Remember, you can watch Newsmax TV live on YouTube. Newsmax TV, real news for real people.